Welcome in everyone to Horror Talk with your hosts, myself, ShinyMikablu, and my lovely co-host, VineyardTrio. Tonight we will be discussing different subgenres of the horror franchise. Everything from games to movies to novels. What else did we talk about last week? There was something else mixed in with those. You're still muted.
I need to stop being muted. We did a lot of that. We did a lot of talking.
Books, it was games, it was movies.
Books, games, movies.
Well, whatever it was, I'm sure it wasn't that important since we can't remember.
I feel like it was, yeah, just books, games, movies. That was like the big bulk of it. Anyway.
Rift, is that better? Turn me down some. Jane, can you say something?
I am saying something. I am talking. I am doing le talking to talk.
Okay, there we go. I think I have equalized our volumes now. Much better. Perfect. All right, let's say hi to everyone who's here in chat. Courteously Jen coming in with the not first. The first belonging to Shattered Rift, who got to stream first and ran into a school of shrimp. Because, shrimp always get in the way. Oh, just a complete random aside. I was at the grocery store with a friend earlier, and they had prawn dumplings.
What?
prawn
Prawn and dumplings?
prawn dumplings. Instead of shrimp, they had prawn.
Mm-hmm.
Just
I
completely
think
random aside.
I was gonna say, I think in the UK that's what they call it. Like everything is prawn. Like it's not shrimp, it's prawn.
Probably, yeah.
Dang US being weird.
All right, so we have a lot to talk about tonight. Like I said, we are going into different subgenres of horror. And if you all in chat would like to follow along with us, this is the article that we are going to be reading from tonight from LA Film. I was referencing it a little bit last week when we were starting to go into discussions about, I think it was supernatural and comedic horror. We talked
Yep.
a little bit about last week.
Yes.
So, yeah. Note self starts saying,
What's up, my prawns? Hell yeah.
Damn it, Rift. Anyway, before we get started, I would like to announce that I do, in fact, have a merch store. Exclamation mark merch in chat, which is right there. I do have a lot of wonderful stuff in there. I have some of my emotes as stickers. There's the very lovely Shrimp Queen emote, as drawn by Captain Neveros. Here is my logo, as designed by the very talented Curviously Jen, right here in chat. And I also have, for a sticker, I have some of my little shrimps. As some of you may know, if you're here regularly, that I do usually have little shrimps going walking along the bottom of my screen. I do not have them on tonight, nor do I have Dixport on tonight, because we will just be chatting and talking, and we do not need jump scares right in my face, and because it won't be in your face. I do not need jump scares right in my
Right.
face
I was
while I'm
about to say,
talking about horror
I'll only
movies.
see them after you see them. You'd react and I'd be like, what? What?
Okay, I need to turn my headphones down because you're coming through very loud now that I've turned you up. Okay. Prawn of the Dead. Ronan, welcome in. That is a D tier movie, a D tier made for TV sci-fi channel horror movie if I have ever heard one.
Or
And
really awkward porn.
or really awkward porn. Either way, I would watch both of those.
Right.
All right, so that is my merch store. If any of you in chat don't already know, I usually am live on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern, playing a bunch of different horror games. Currently on Tuesdays is Bioshock. On Thursdays, I am going to go back to Lake of Voices, which is going to absolutely destroy my throat since it's a visual novel. And then on Sundays, I do a lot of indie games. This past Sunday, I played another visual novel that I actually really like and want to go back to, called Us Lovely Corpses. But yeah, no, I had to stop early last night because my voice was just like, I don't know if you guys could hear it on stream, but I could tell my throat was getting really scratchy and water was not helping.
Yeah. And same with what is it, like Voices? I
Yeah,
could tell that it was starting to wear on you reading so much, but I was like, but it's so good. Keep playing.
it is
I
such
want
a
to know
good
what
game.
else happens.
Well, come back on Thursday and I will be doing it again. I will absolutely
Nope, I'm not
destroy
coming
my
back on.
voice.
Nope,
Well, that's your
I'm on
loss then.
all the time.
So, since we have a few minutes before we get into the show, is there anything that you would like to
Um,
promote? Sapcock on Discord.
just yeah. Well, we're not doing Sapcock on Discord until the end of the month. We do that once a month. For anybody that doesn't know, me and my channel, once a month. We used to stream it on Twitch, but Twitch changed their TOS, and we used to do it. We have a book club. We are associated with the National Book Club,
Society.
association. It's one of those society association. We're a society. Yeah, actually, we're not. But it's Sabcock, not Sadcock. It's a play on words. It sounds like Sadcock, but it means Sabcock, and it's SABCOK. Stands for Shitty Ass Book Club on Kindle, where we get drunk and read shitty, rated, or poorly written erotic romance books, and constantly look for our anatomy books and draw stick figure pictures to try to figure out how they're doing what they're doing. It's a good time.
Well,
And that usually happens once a month on Discord at this point.
if you ever come across a novel of that sort that kind of delves into the horror genre, definitely let me know. We can talk about it on the show. Probably not too
Oh
much
yeah.
because it Twitch's TOS, but still.
Oh, I mean, we've had aliens, we've had werebears, we've had were pufferfish. I don't know how you could be a were pufferfish, but we've read about it. It was a thing. Yeah. Mermaids.
Okay.
So yeah, unicorns. Uh huh. Um.
So lots of different like monster-esque kind of creatures.
Yes, those ones are good. I think one of the not last time, but the time before we did imaginary friends. Apparently, it was the
Okay.
imaginary friend was real. I don't question anymore.
Buttception. Yeah, that is a
Yeah,
word that I have
Chuck
never
Tingle.
actually heard, but God, Chuck Tingle.
Yeah, if you've never heard of Chuck Tingle and you want to laugh and think you're reading erotic, but you're also laughing the entire time, Chuck Tingle. He legit has a book where it's like a butt within a butt within a butt.
Okay. And on that note, let's get into the show.
Yeah, let's deviate from erotic romance and go into horror.
So, once again, here is the link in chat for everyone. This is the article that we are following today, Subgenres of Horror Films Explained. Firstly, let's talk about our favorite subgenres of horror. Before that, let me go into what
Like
some of the actual subgenres are. So we all know horror movies, like big, bad, scary, cinematic, atmospheric, or, there's stuff like Shaun of the Dead. And was it Tucker and Dale, End of the World, something, whatever that movie's called?
something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so those are two examples of the comedic or satire or parody subgenre. Along with that, we have, according to this article, there is demonic, paranormal, monster, slasher, zombie, gore, that's GORE, witchcraft, vampire, psychological, and then comedic, as I already mentioned.
Yeah.
Personally, out of those, my favorite is probably witchcraft or demonic. We've been watching a lot of those.
Yes. Yes. I think mine would be the demonic paranormal would be more of my two favorites.
See, I tend to lump witchcraft in with paranormal in like
I do
in
too.
like
I
a
mean,
broad
same with the
supernatural.
demonic.
Yeah.
Like I kind of it's funny that it has it set as like demonic and paranormal are two separate things because in my mind I just think of it all as the same because it's spiritual.
Right.
It's so same with vampire. Vampire is part of the paranormal, so it kind of gets kind of chucked in there in my book, because like I'm over here looking at this list because I have it on my other monitor, and I'm like, I like this one and this one and this one. They're like teddy bear. I just want to hug them all and go, come with me this way.
Horror version of Pokemon. Gotta collect them all.
Yeah, I gotta collect them. I gotta watch them all.
Gotta watch them all.
Gotta watch them all.
All right. So,
Horror movies.
so let's go
I don't
into
know how to end that.
let's go into a little bit about what the differences between some of those are, because like we said, we tend to lump like paranormal, supernatural, witchcraft, demonic, like tend to lump those all into like a very like broad supernatural category.
Yeah.
According to this according to this article,
Mm-hmm.
the demonic possession subgenre, sometimes thought of as supernatural horror, this subgenre plays into the unknown of the human experience. Demons have been a part of historical storytelling for centuries. They represent evil in many forms, including mythical, religious, and supernatural. One of the most famous demonic movie examples of all time is Friedkin's? I don't know. William Friedkin's 1973 movie The Exorcist. Pazuzu, the main demon, is never actually mentioned in the movie, but is arguably the best known demon of today's horror movies. As the star character in The Exorcist, Pazuzu is an ancient mythological demon in Mesopotamia who possessed Regan McNeil, played by Linda Blair. Fun fact, I actually got to meet her at the Horror Find convention about 16 years ago. Got her autograph too. The movie
I'm jealous. You're
skyrocketed.
jealous.
The movie skyrocketed Pazuzu to Hollywood fame and helped shape the demonic genre of horror in modern movie. Now, you and I have been watching a lot of demonic horror movies,
Yes.
specifically the Conjuring universe. So that includes the Conjuring movies, Annabelle,
Yep.
The Nun, The Curse of La Llorona, which I have been told recently I am horribly mispronouncing, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it correctly because I don't know how. And I think there was one other movie along with that, wasn't there? In that universe?
No, as far as I know, it does it's just Annabelle, the Nun, La Llorona, and The Conjuring itself. I think you might be thinking of Insidious because it has the same actors,
It
but
might
it's
be.
not the same.
It's
It's
not the same
literally not the
universe, yeah.
same. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
could be
yeah.
thinking of Insidious. But either way, those are pretty good examples of demonic possession movies. The Conjuring movies and the Annabelle movies actually star Ed and Lorraine Warren, the
Yep.
two most famous demon hunter, or not demon hunters, demonologists.
Demonologist. Yeah.
Demonologists. And I found out recently that Lorraine Warren only passed away 4 years ago.
Yep.
That's
Very
it.
recent.
Very, very
Very
recently.
recent.
And I think even Ed Warren only passed away. What was it, like 2009? I think we found that out the other day.
Yeah, because I thought it was 2008 and it was 2009.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would have absolutely loved to meet them and hear like
Yeah.
firsthand about some of their cases.
Right.
Also, Snowy, welcome in. How are you doing tonight? We are currently talking about the demonic possession subgenre of horror movies, specifically relating to The Conjuring, which is a series that both Vineyard Trio and I absolutely love. You still need to finish The Conjuring 2, or a rewatch of The Conjuring 2 with your sister.
Yes, we've got an hour left in The Conjuring 2. So we finished The Conjuring with her and Annabelle. Then we have an hour left of Conjuring 2. And then, if I'm not mistaken, isn't after Conjuring 2, then it's.
I'm looking it up right now, actually.
I was going to say, isn't it supposed to be Annabelle Comes Home? Or is it Annabelle Creation?
In release order after Conjuring 2, it is Annabelle Creation. And
Creation.
then The Nun.
Okay.
Yep.
I couldn't remember if it was Comes Home or Creation, but I know the next one's supposed to be another Annabelle movie. And then The Nun, right?
Yep.
Something like that. Anyway,
And then Curse, and then Annabelle Comes Home, and then Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It.
yep.
And there's two more sequels in the works right now, with potentially more on the way.
I know, and I'm excited. I can't wait to see what other factual things they take from for just the Conjuring. We've known and slash noticed that, like, with Annabelle, obviously Annabelle is a real thing. Not the spooky doll that she's portrayed as in the movies. As we all know, that she's just a Raggedy Ann doll. Um, and they kind of took, like, the history of the Raggedy Ann doll named Annabelle and kind of, like, spun it into something way more terrifying in its own little realm. Um, whereas it's not as involved as it is in real life as how they've made it into the movies. And we were actually discussing a couple nights ago when we were watching Annabelle and The Conjuring 2, just how much they've put into them that weren't needed and how they could have done certain things different in our opinions. And a part of that is me and Mika, as a lot of you guys know, we love horror movies and we love all things horror. So much so that we even go on deep dives into the horror, and especially if it says that it's based on true events, we're like, Googling intensifies, and we need to go deep diving into it. We become internet sleuths and try to find what how like involved the story really is, what part of it's false, what part of it's real, and how they deviate from each other, and it gets a little intense.
Just a little bit. Also, Snowy, yes, The Conjuring and Annabelle are set in the same universe. In the first
Yes.
movie, they do have a short-ish segment. I think it's what, 5-10 minutes, if that.
If that,
If
yeah, in the
that.
very beginning.
Yeah, there's a very short sequence in the first Conjuring movie where they do show off the Annabelle doll. And like VineyardTrio said, it's not actually like a spooky, like creepy, like cracked, damaged, whatever, Chucky-looking doll like it is in the Annabelle movies. It's just a normal Raggedy Ann doll,
Just a
like
large ragged.
just like all the other
Mhm.
ones out there. So I'm saying they love horror more now than they did as a kid. I was always into horror to a degree. Like even when I was younger, like so my favorite horror movie is Nightmare Before Christmas, which is my all-time favorite movie. I
Tell me
remember,
more.
yeah,
Mm.
so when I first saw the trailer for that, or well, commercial because it was on TV. When I first saw the commercial for that on TV, I was like, I think I was like 6 or 7. No, maybe a little older. I think it was like 8 or 9 because I think it came out in like '96. I might be wrong. Anyway, but I saw the
It
commercial
was
on TV.
94. Either way, it was early 90s.
Yeah. Either way, I saw the commercial on TV and it is like I fell in love with the movie immediately. Saw it in theaters twice, I think. Then completely lost track of it until I went to Disney World when I was 18. And the reason I say I lost track of it until then is because like this was back before YouTube. It's back before YouTube. This is back before any of the streaming platforms. So like unless you had it on tape, or like early DVD, like we never had it on tape. Unless you had it on tape,
Yeah, we
like you just couldn't find it. You just didn't have it. And then when I was at Disney World, we went into I forget what the store was, and right there on the shelf was an entire display of Nightmare Before Christmas special edition DVDs. So I immediately grabbed one, and I have watched it every single year on Christmas and Halloween ever since. Although now I don't really use the DVD. I use a copy that I got off of my DVD, Twitch. That's where I got it from. But I also now I use a Disney Plus since I have that. It's just so much easier.
yeah.
I think we strayed off
Um
topic a little bit.
a little bit. Yeah. Mhm.
See, this is how our conversations usually go, chat.
They do. They do.
It's just random tangents.
Yeah, we had it on VHS and I have special edition DVD. So, I like it a little bit too. I only have a tattoo along my entire side. So, anyway, next up is paranormal.
Yeah. Next up, paranormal, which actually, Nightmare Before Christmas is just like a massive paranormal monster fest.
Yeah,
Especially
because it's
because
got, it's got everything creepy paranormal in it.
the main character is literally a scarecrow that is set on fire, is doused, and turns into a skeleton. That's definitely horror.
Nah, not
Uh,
nightmare inducing at all.
Not at all. Definitely not before Christmas. But according to this article, the paranormal subgenre of horror is closely related to demonic subgenre that focuses on characters who are not living beings. Spirits and ghosts spook viewers and create fear without a physical presence on screen. For example, furniture moves without anyone touching it, or a chill passes through the air out of nowhere. Those are elements of paranormal activity that can be from a demon spirit, supernatural power, or a ghost. Paranormal Activity, The Conjuring, Amityville Horror, The Omen, Carrie, and Poltergeist are all examples from the paranormal subgenre. That's why, like I say, I classify like a lot of different things under the paranormal umbrella of subgenre of horror, because it really does encompass everything that's out of the ordinary. Paranormal means beyond normal.
Right, exactly.
So it could be anything. It could be anything from demonic possession, what are the examples they give? demonic possession, furniture moving without anyone touching it, which is poltergeist. Chill passing through the air out of nowhere, which could be literally anything.
Right.
Elements of paranormal
Especially
activity.
nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, elements of paranormal activity that can be from a demon spirit, supernatural power, or a ghost. Yeah, it's personally, I think paranormal, excuse me, slash supernatural is just like the broadest term for horror because there's so much
Yeah,
that falls under it.
yeah, for sure. Um, and it's not so much just horror itself, because like if you think of book genres, um, paranormal itself, like the book that I've been writing since I've been 15, it's considered to be a paranormal romance, and it's because it has paranormal aspects of it. And I've read other paranormal books, and it can go anywhere from vampires and werewolves to ghosts to demons and angels. Like it's like everything that is not human, so to speak. And that's like just about all of that. And that's what they lump everything in as being paranormal. It's paranormal, and then whatever other genre, rather, if I can get my words out, because English seems to be hard for us tonight. um but it'd be like paranormal horror or paranormal history, or because it's like it just paranormal whatever. Eh, yeah. And I just think that's interesting because books and movies almost intertwine themselves, because a lot of times our movies come from books or something that was related to a book at one point. And it's always been funny to me that in horror movie genre they have demonic and horror and all this stuff separately, whereas with books it's just
It's
all
just
things
horror.
not normal.
Yep. See, curiously, Jen saying, I feel like the movie's paranormal activity is more demonic than paranormal, ghosty ghost slash poltergeist. Mm, I think paranormal activity is like half demonic, half, well, paranormal. Because, yes, some of the characters are possessed by something, but it is more of a haunting rather than a true possession like you would see in The Exorcist or The Conjuring or something. It still
I
falls
think
under the
that's
paranormal umbrella.
right. And I think it's even funny that in this article it even states in the very first line, paranormal horror hormone.
Paranormal
Hello?
hormones.
Paranormal hormones. Um Paranormal horror is closely related to the demonic subgenre. So it's interesting that even this article and how we also feel that they're literally just hand in hand with each other. And I'm happy to see that even yes, hello? That
Speaking of
even
demons,
articles, yeah, speaking of little demons, um, that I already lost my train of thought. Thanks, cat. Wait, are you a cat? Okay.
sometimes I wonder.
Yeah. You wanna come up here and say hello? Yeah? Hello?
Once again, I am ShinyMikablu. This is my co-host Vineyard Trio, and that is our guest star Lily the cat.
Yes.
I
Miss
believe you're
Liliana.
Liliana the cat. Yep. I believe you're
Yep.
talking about how paranormal and demonic are very closely related.
Yes. And I know I was trying to basically marry the fact that oh god, that Jen was saying that paranormal activity is more demonic than paranormal. And do you mind, ma'am? I'm trying to talk here and have a conversation. That it's just interesting to me that even with the article that we're reading, it says that they're very closely related. They're sisters. They're sisters in this subgenre. That's where I was going. Okay, I'll I got there. It took me 5 minutes, but we made it. Here we are. Let's unpack and enjoy the beach.
And again, that is how our conversations usually go. Just random asides, random tangents. We eventually get to the point.
Yes, it takes a little bit, but we get there.
Yep. Alright, well, now that we've had that little monster make an appearance on our stream, let's move into the monster subgenre of horror. Would you like to read this one?
Sure, I'll give it a swing. So it says for monsters, we've got vampires, aliens, and giant sea creatures are all antagonists in a monster movie genre. Unlike their supernatural counterparts, monsters can wreak havoc on a community of people in one fell swoop. Monsters terrorize and kill whatever is in their path and use their strength and size to destroy. I can already see where this is going. Universal Studios popularized the monster genre in Hollywood from the 1930s to the 50s with Frankenstein, Dracula, the creature of the Black Lagoon, and many other iconic monsters. Before Universal found success in making horror films, it wasn't considered a big player during Hollywood's early years. Once they discovered that audience loved to be thrilled and simultaneously terrorized by giant monsters, the studio built a media franchise around their monster movies. Ooh, today you can when you visit Universal Studios backlot, you'll see a giant mural with popular monsters painted on an outdoor wall.
And I will be opening that image here in a second so that we can see it. Oh, that is beautiful. Okay, and unlike last time when I switch over to the next scene, you should be able to hear us. I don't have it set up for our cameras yet, but you should be able to
Fingers
hear
crossed.
us. So let me go over to there so we can see that. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. Is that... That's not
Oh,
what I
that's
wanted to
me.
do. That's what I wanted to do.
I am not the mural. I could be the mural.
So this is the mural that was talked about in the article. As you can see, it has Dracula, it has the Bride of Frankenstein, it has Frankenstein's monster. I believe that's the creature from the Black Lagoon and the Wolfman. All
Yeah.
very, very classic, very famous, very just like you know what they are right away just from their appearance. All
Can I get
major,
those as
major
prints?
Hollywood monsters. I don't
Universal
know.
Studios, give me those as prints. I want to
Probably,
put them up in my room.
yeah, probably can. All right, switching back over to our talk scene now. Yeah, that is the mural that was talked about in the article there. Here is a link if you want to take a closer look at all of, like the close-ups and stuff. But yeah, so for the
That's
monster,
been painted on there because when me and Jennifer were younger. I'm sorry, when me and Curviously Jen were younger, we went to Disney and Universal Studios in California. Um, I don't know if it's Disney World or Disneyland. I always get them mixed up. I always get them backwards.
Disney World is Florida, Disneyland is California.
Okay, so then it was Disneyland, and we went to Universal while we were out there. And I wonder if that's on both. Why do I gotta use your government name? I'm sorry. Habit. Um, I wonder if it's on both Universal lots, for Florida and California, and if it's only on just Florida. Because if it's on both, I wonder how long they've had them on there. I don't know. I
I
still
don't
want
know.
prints. I still want prints.
I don't know. But yeah, what do you think of monster movies in general?
They're okay. I don't mind them too much. I'll watch them on occasion. I think it's funny how they put Dracula in there, and then yet they also have the whole subgenre of vampires.
Oh, I think like this particular Dracula movie like predated the entire subgenre of vampires because that's the one
Well,
that
that would
kicked it
make
off and
sense.
started it all.
Right. Um, but like Creature of the Black Lagoon, I've seen it, not my jam. Um, but my first initial thought of monster horror is actually Godzilla.
Honestly,
And
same.
it's just not I'm not a fan. Like, I'll watch them if I've got nothing else to watch, but it's not something I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I can't wait to see the next Godzilla movie." They're all the same to me.
See,
You
you
got a
say
big
that,
creepy monster doing stuff, but I mean, you can say the same thing about any horror, but they're
but
different,
but
okay?
it's funny you say that specifically about Godzilla because honestly, the more modern Godzilla movies, like the ones in like the last 5, 10 years, whatever,
Mhm.
um, I love them. Like
I
they're
haven't seen them.
they're B tier movies at best. I mean, they're giant monster movies. What more can you really expect from them except a lot of destruction and monsters fighting? But for what they are, they're actually really, really good. And they do try to like weave in a plot, and the plots are actually decent. Especially with King of Monsters, the one with Godzilla and King Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra and all that. It's like the
Okay.
big like not conglomeration. It's the Avengers movies of Godzilla. I don't know what I don't know what else to call it. You know what I mean? It's the one with all of them together.
Wow, okay, yeah, now I'm gonna start thinking it that way. Whenever I see Godzilla, I'm gonna be like, "It's the Iron Man of monsters."
No, that's Mecha Godzilla.
What's the same difference? It's still Godzilla. Stop bringing logic into this. But no,
Um,
seriously, if I wanted to see a giant monster destroy small things, then I'll just watch my son play with his toys. I'm just saying, it's equally as scary.
Godzilla's the Hulk of monster movies. I mean, I don't really disagree with that statement.
He's like,
Radiation,
okay, yeah, I could see that. Okay, yeah, I could see more Hulk than Iron Man.
Mecha Godzilla is definitely Iron Man.
Who would be Captain America?
That's a good question. Probably Gamera because Gamera is the like the turtle-like thing that can retreat into his shell. His shell spins and he can like bounce off of opponents. Captain America's shield, or King Kong is Captain America. That actually kind of works too.
See, I would think more King Kong being the Hulk because the Hulk has got skin. See, here's where my brain was going. So, Iron Man for Godzilla, cause scales, iron suit. King
Okay.
Kong, Hulk, big bash pound break. I don't know. Okay, leave me alone. I don't do big monsters.
Okay, I can kind of see that.
Yeah,
Uh, so we did get off topic, tiny tiny bit, but we are still talking about monster movies. One monster
we are.
movie I really want to give a shout out to is I believe it was 2004, Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. Honestly, one of
That
my
was a good
favorite
one.
movies. That was a really good one. I know a lot of people were mixed on it, the way they portrayed some of the
Yes.
villains. Because they had Dracula, they had Frankenstein's monster, they had Wolfman, they had multiple Wolfmans, they had Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll, Mr.
Yes.
Hyde.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
What else did they
God, I haven't
have?
seen that in forever. But I
I
know I
haven't either.
thoroughly enjoyed it because, Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale in a movie together was just, I'm just saying. Just-
And their take on like the vampire versus werewolf conflict, which is present in a lot of different movies, like Underworld series, for example. But the way like their take on it was actually pretty good. Like vampires being like the only, or werewolves being the only thing that can like permanently kill Dracula, which is why he wants to control the werewolves, and he has the ability to control them. Except for Van Helsing, who has like tremendous amount of willpower. But yeah, anything with Kate Beckinsale, yeah. I mean, I don't disagree,
Same.
especially in the skin tight leather pants.
Yes, please. Yes, mommy. Yes, mommy. So, mommy, sorry. Sorry, mommy. Mom. Yeah.
Um, so, what's your favorite monster movie?
Probably Frankenstein. Um, I think I've recently watched the newer take on it with Daniel Radcliffe and oh my god, what is his name? I can't think of it right now.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Mm. Yeah, he plays as Dr. X. He plays as the monster in Split. Oh god, what is his name?
Um, it's not James McAvoy, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think. I don't know. Oh god, his name doesn't sound familiar. Oh,
Well,
yes.
let's go to
Jennifer
Google.
saying Jen is saying yes. I'll get it together. I'll stop using your
Uh,
government name.
yep. I just searched Dr. X Frankenstein actor. James McAvoy is the first one that came up.
Okay, yes. I was about to say yes, no, yes, no, yes. But yeah. Uh it's him and Daniel Radcliffe, and they do their a whole different like spin on Frankenstein and how he's created, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Like, I don't know, it kind of made it put some sort of logical spin to it, but for the life of me, I can't think of what that actual movie was called.
All right. Well, if you figure it out, let's add it to our list. Our
Yeah,
ever-growing list of movies we need to watch.
I know.
You know, speaking of monsters, not every monster is a supernatural kind of weird demon monster thing. Some of them are slashers. I mean,
Hmm.
like Psycho, Norman Bates.
Yep.
Very, very human. Definitely not a supernatural monster.
No.
Which brings us to the slasher genre of films. One that I personally don't generally care for because to me they're very formulaic, which is why we have parody movies or satire movies like Scream, who completely do away with the formula by using the formula. It's weird, but it's good. Anyway, slasher. According to this article, slasher movies focus on villains who are human as opposed to monsters. Slasher villains are usually serial killers and typically have a high body count by the end of the movie. They stalk their victims and brutally murder the film's protagonist or protagonists and anyone who gets in their way. Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and Jason Voorhees, better known as simply Jason, are iconic slasher villains in horror film history. John Carpenter's 1978 cult classic movie Halloween ushered in the era of masked serial killers as part of the slasher movies genre. Audiences are particularly terrified by the slasher genre because of how close to reality these fictionalized villains make viewers feel. It's interesting how the article says focus on villains who are human, and then particularly point out Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and Jason Voorhees. Two of those are zombies, and one of them is a dream demon. To be fair, they all did start out human, and
Yeah, I was
they are
about to
they are
say.
humanoid. They have human minds and stuff like that.
I was about to say, yeah, but they did start doing their killing whilst human. So that
Also,
would make a lot of sense.
also, I want to address a comment that Snowy Wolfo put in chat. So the movie in the Discord we're gonna do, yes, that is going to be in my Discord server. And if you are not
Yes,
part of it, you can type !Discord, and that will get you the link to it. I think we're gonna do that for the next show. Was that the plan?
I believe so. And I think we were going to do Willy's Wonderland.
Yes, we are gonna do Willy's Wonderland, which we will talk about more when we get to the comedic genre of
Willy,
movies. But for
I'm about to
now,
have to murder a cat.
no, there's more than one way to skin a cat. But yes, slasher movies. What do you think of the slasher genre in general?
See, that's another one of those, not a super big fan. I'll watch it if there's nothing else. Like, I think from like bottom to top, top being what I would watch first, it would be like for bottom, it would be monsters would be dead last and slashers would be like right above it. Um, because a part of it is I feel like my grandmother used to watch a lot of slasher esque. I mean, she just watched horror in general. but I feel like she also enjoyed watching a lot of the slasher movies. And because of her, we kind of made it a thing that she would usually, I don't even know how this woman, she would fall asleep. Well, I can't say that. Okay, but she would fall asleep to watching horror movies. And I started to say, I don't know how someone could fall asleep watching a horror movie, but when we were watching Insidious, I fell asleep at one point. So,
I
okay,
remember
I had to
that.
take that back. And what woke me up was one of the loud noises, and I was like, where the hell am I? What's happening? Oh, we're watching a movie. Oops. Um, but uh, it kind of spurned me and me and Jen. I will eventually get to the non-government name. It got me and Jen to, at one point, as the movie was playing and she would be laying on the couch sleeping, she was a snorer. And I don't mean like a normal just I mean, she, when you hear the phrase sawing logs, she was legitimately sawing logs. And me and my sister would be sitting there and we would pretend like we were revving chainsaws and acting like we were going after each other's. And I think a few times we acted like we were revving bikes. And, but most of the time it was we were revving chainsaws. So it just kind of fit in because you would hear the screaming coming from the TV and we're just like pretending to like cut each other up. And so slashers to me only make me think of me and my sister pretending to kill each other with invisible chainsaws to our grandmother snoring.
I
So
mean, that is a form of a slasher subgenre.
right. It just, so whenever I go to watch, I mean, when I watch them, it just makes me think of that. I have a hard time staying focused on the film. It's almost like ADHD kicks in, and you're kind of like, oh, remember when? And then you hear a girl scream, and you're like, I missed it. Go back. What? How did she die? I wasn't paying attention.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Would that be considered a slasher?
For it to be based off of the actual killer who did something very similar, yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah,
I would
okay.
assume so.
Makes sense.
Because he was human with the start of the body count. But out of the ones that was listed, I will say this before I shut the fuck up. I think out of like Freddy Krueger, Mike Myers, or Jason Voorhees, probably Jason. It would be one of my more favorite type. Um, I don't know really why. Probably something to do with the hockey mask makes me think of TMNT hockey mat. Just
Okay.
my it kind of connects in weird ways to different things. Um, and I think that might have been my grandmother's, and I know it's my father's favorite type of slasher, as he's even got a tattoo of Jason Voorhees doing a big fat murder on a lady, and I'm, yeah, you see booby, and that's, yeah. Anyway,
Shattered Rift
Casey
in
Jones.
chat saying
Rip.
Casey
Yeah,
Jones. Yeah, I believe that's the TMNT character that wears a hockey mask like that.
yeah. I had a big crush on Casey Jones growing up. I was like, "Hey, Leonardo, what's up?" Wait, Casey Jones. Casey Jones.
I think Jen's saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And using your emotes.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like I don't really particularly care for slashers. They have to be like very unique or done in a very particular way for me to enjoy them. Because like I said at the beginning, I feel they're just too formulaic. Like, you know
Mhm.
what's gonna happen, and even ones that try to subvert the tropes have now become the tropes.
Yeah.
Because it's like you always know what's gonna happen. And that's why I
Yeah.
think parodies, or not parodies, sorry, satire one movies like Scream, like the original Scream, are very, very good for the horror genre in general. Is they're the pioneers of subverting. I think the first Scream movie is probably one of the best, if not the best, slasher movies, period. Just
Yeah.
because of how perfectly it subverts and satires everything about the slasher genre up until that point.
Oh yeah, for being a satire slasher, like that trumps them all. Like I would, oh yeah, I will go for Scream any day. Um, and I know Riff's saying slashers can't take themselves seriously; they have to be comedic. I almost 100% agree because maybe back in the day, maybe 80s, they were terrifying because people still were like seriously locking their doors, and especially further away from the city you got, people just it wasn't a thing. But nowadays, we see people like, as Snowy said, "Oh, don't go into the well, you're dead. You went into the closet," or "Oh, there goes a dumb blonde girl running up the stairs." It becomes too predictable. Like
Yep.
slashers now is just, and I think me and you, when we were looking through a bunch of horror movies, just trying to find something to watch, we came across a whole bunch of slashers because we were kind of taking a break from the paranormal and all that, and we were like, well, let's see what else. And oh, we found some doozies. And it actually got to the point where we were like, here's our recommendations of how it has to be a slasher movie. It needs to be rated R, because anything below an R, you're just not going to get the same blood splatter. Gotta see lots of blood. And it also needs to be rated R, and it has to have sexual nudity or something in it, because we gotta see the boobies. If it ain't got blood and it ain't got titties, it ain't a good slasher flick.
I
And
mean, you're not
we
wrong.
literally looked for that. And that's how we found one with an old lady butt, because it said nudity, and we were like, that means boobies, and it was not. It was old lady butt, and I was
We were we
nightmares.
were we were very disappointed in that one. What movie was
I
that,
had
by the way? Do you remember?
no, I wrote it off in my brain. Don't want to ever
Fair
see it
enough.
again. Don't want to
Fair
even think
enough.
about it, because that old lady butt just monsters aren't scary. Old lady ass is scary.
One movie I do want to give a shout out to that is, I guess it would technically be a slasher flick, is Freddy versus Jason, which
Still haven't
was
seen
really, we'll add that to our list.
it.
It
Mhm.
was,
Add it to the list.
I mean, it was about what you would expect. It was Freddy Krueger versus Jason Voorhees. It was made literally to make money rather than as like a pet project or something like that. But for what it was surprisingly good. I really enjoyed it, and I actually kind of want to go back and watch it again. And it kind of subverts some tropes of the slasher genre because now there's two slashers going against each other. One's a zombie who can't
Yeah.
be killed, the other's a dream demon who can't be killed. Who the fuck's gonna win?
Me. No.
Yeah, the
Um,
audience. The audience wins because
the
it
audience
was
wins.
pure fan service. But for fan service, it was really really good.
Now that I think about it, because you were saying the Freddy vs. Jason and all that stuff, for some reason my brain kind of started to like, it wasn't really sidetracking too very far. But I think I know why so much now with Jason Voorhees, because what happened was you were talking about them fighting each other, and I was like, ooh, I bet you it was at a campsite. Campsite means Friday the 13th. That's why I like Jason Voorhees, because he's Friday the 13th, like poster boy. And it's become this big comedic thing that every time it's Friday the 13th, I'm like, don't drink, don't smoke, don't have sex, don't go outside, don't go anywhere alone, don't go camping, don't do it. Just don't, just, you know what? Just
Don't go
stay
on the
inside
lake.
and be good. Yeah. Don't do anything. Don't. And it's just, yeah. Anyway. And I
Yeah,
think that's probably where my love for Jason Voorhees comes in. And I say love very, very, very loosely. It's only because of the Friday the 13th being a big meme, and I love to send it to everybody that I'm like, oh, it's Friday the 13th, and I know I sent it in the Jen's Discord where he's just walking down the street, just swinging a sword. He's like, la, 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 la. It's just a
I
big
remember
meme
seeing
for
that.
me now.
Yep, I remember seeing that. And I know I've been calling Jason Voorhees a zombie, which honestly depends on depending on what movie you're watching. He technically is, he technically isn't, whatever. But that does bring us
Yeah.
to the next genre, a subgenre of horror in the list, which is zombie movies. Read this one.
Zombies. Oh, of course. It is not my love. but it is my love's love. And that is zombies. So we got zombie movies across multiple horror genres and subgenres rather. One part monster, one part possession. Zombie thrillers make a perfect cocktail of terror. Somehow they are most difficult villain to kill off and just keep coming back for more. I mean, if you're a bad shot, yeah, they're going to be difficult to kill. These corpse-like characters are cannibalistic by nature and can infect their victims with a single bite. Not all, I will say, not all
Not all of them.
zombie horrors are that way. Shows like The Walking Dead created a cult following for the zombie genre of horror, with 11 seasons spanning from 2010 to 2021. The Walking Dead TV series showcased a horrifying post apocalyptic story of zombie invasions. The success of the show has kept audiences interested in zombie horror that will likely continue for years to come.
See, my thing about zombie movies and
Sorry,
part
I just read Ronan's message. Jason is the Pepe Le Pew of murder. I'm sorry. That wasn't fun. It's not funny. It's funny. It's funny. You got me.
that was a very funny comment. Good one,
It was
Ronan.
very good. A plus.
Gold star for you.
Right. Wow.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Anyways.
Back to zombies. Yeah. Pardon the pun that I'm going to use with this, but I always say that the reason I don't like zombies is because zombies have literally been done to death. Zombie, shut up.
Yeah. Nope. You say that every time. I'm like, you want to watch a zombie flick? No, they've been done to death. Literally. Figuratively. All of it. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, they have been. Zombies have become such a pop culture phenomenon that, like, you see zombies everywhere in
Everywhere,
everything.
yes.
I cannot think of a single first person shooter game in like the last 15 years that does not have a zombie mode. And yes, I see what he's playing in the background. But
Mhm.
yeah, they all have zombie modes where you're just sitting there with a gun with lots and lots of ammo just mowing down zombies everywhere. Just like in the movies. BioShock does not have a zombie mode. BioShock, while BioShock is a first person shooter, it is a horror first person shooter. And honestly, some of whatever the enemies are called in that franchise, some of them could be considered zombies.
They're trying to shove it in your face.
Yeah.
Rift. Watching you.
Okay.
Saying Doom does not have a zombie mode. But the aliens watching you.
No, they're not aliens, they are demons. The alien thing
That's
came
right.
from
Sorry.
one of the
My bad.
movies, and that movie sucked ass, and The Rock does not deserve to have his name attached to it.
Jen saying that, but that's because they're already zombies.
In
There are
Doom,
some
they're
very
not
few
really
that don't
zombies.
have zombies mode.
Yeah,
Yes, I agree with
there
that.
are some that do not have zombie mode. Bioshock and Doom, as Shadow Rift in chat said. But games like Call of Duty, like a lot of the Call of Duty games, Player Unknown Battlegrounds, which isn't really a first person shooter, it's a battle royale game, but it also has a zombie mode. It has
Yeah, PUBG
multiple
does, yeah.
zombie mode. Like a lot of battle royale, I can't say that because I only know of a few, but there are some that have zombie modes, and that just proves my point. Zombies have, pardon the pun, zombies have infected many other genres. Shut up. Does Borderlands have
Does
zombie
Borderlands have
enemies?
zombie enemies?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've only actually played two Borderlands games, Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Well, no, that's not true. I've played like 4 or 5 hours of one and just couldn't get into it. But Saints Row, the GTA like game, Saints Row,
Mm-hmm.
specifically Saints Row 3 has zombies. There's a section of the game where part of the city gets covered by this like hazardous gas, whatever, and it turns people into zombies. Zombies in GTA. Where else are they going to show up? Isn't there? Yeah,
I'm trying to think.
Pride and Prejudice and zombies. That's an actual
Yep.
novel. It's Pride and Prejudice with zombies. The Flood and Halo count as zombies. That's a good question. Because effectively, they do work like zombies. They just kind of infect everything they touch and turn them into more flood. That's actually a really good point. I'll have to think of that. There's also a movie of that, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Yes, and I've seen it. It's not bad.
I'm not surprised. Jen saying no, the Flood are aliens. Yes, they are technically aliens, but the way they work and the way they spread is very reminiscent of zombies. They could be considered alien zombies. Do skeleton Koopas count as zombies for Super Mario? Yes, they're undead. Yes. Although then that begs
And
the
Rip says,
question:
"Wait,
do
skeletons equals zombies."
yeah, that's actually what I was just about to say. They're skeletons. Do they really count as zombies?
Well, their classification, which in my mind is also the other classification, is cannibalistic tendencies. Gotta have the need for brains and flesh. And skeletons are just
Kind of there.
skeletons. Yeah.
I
The
would
dry bones.
Yeah, I would go into like my entire rant on how skeletons can't work as monsters because they're literally just bones, no tendons, muscles, or whatever to actually move the bones. But I'm not going to get into that more than I just did. Let's just chalk it up to supernatural.
Yeah, yeah. Gotta bring logic into it.
Yeah. So with zombies, do you have a favorite zombie movie?
Ooh, boy.
And the question also to chat as well.
Yes.
Whenever I ask like if Vineyard Trio has a favorite movie of whatever subgenre we're talking about, I'm
We
also
want to know
asking you
yours
guys.
too.
Yeah, we want to know your
Yeah.
guys' thoughts about all this as well.
Oh God. Favorite zombie movie. Uh, there's not a lot.
Well, while you're
Um,
thinking, I can tell you mine. Uh,
yeah, please.
my favorite zombie movie, which actually just left my mind. I just had the name of it in my mind, and I can't think of it now.
So
Oh,
we saying
yeah.
say
Okay.
the first Zombieland.
Okay, now I remember what it was. It was the first Resident Evil movie. I actually really enjoyed that. The one where they're going through the Umbrella Corporation with like all the secret agents and stuff. I
Okay.
actually really enjoyed that for what it was. I didn't really like
Jen
any of the other
says
ones.
Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, I didn't like any
That's
of
a
the
good
other
one.
ones either.
Attack of the Psychedelic Zombies, man. The full name of an actual movie?
Yeah, is that an actual movie?
See Riff saying, "Dang it, Mika! Now I'm picturing plant zombies with vines serving as sinew." I mean, if it works, it works. If it's stupid but it works, it's still stupid but it works.
Right. I don't know if I really have a favorite because it's not something I would sit there and just rewatch over and over and over again, except for maybe Shaun of the Dead. And that's because it's more comedy than anything. Like, yeah, it's got zombies in it, but it's more comedy than anything else. But for like strictly horror, like zombies, spooky, scary, ah, I don't know, probably none.
Yeah,
Because I actually, because of zombie movies, it has become like one of my only major fears. Like I don't have a fear of dying, but I do have a fear of being eaten alive. And that it just the thought of it in general, like what it would feel like and it be just it terrifies me. And it just I'm like I can't. It's not so much the zombie aspect, like, it could be just cannibals in general, like living humans trying to eat someone alive, and that thought just, ooh, mm,
I can definitely
mm-mm.
understand that. That is not a good way to go.
Right.
I see
Talk
run.
about a slow, painful.
Yeah.
And no, thank you.
See, Ronan saying, referencing Attack of the Psychedelic Zombies, man, it was a $3,000 production by some video game podcasters. So bad that it's bad.
So bad, it's bad. Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like a movie not to put on our list. See, Rift saying we need some intelligent zombies who kill people by getting some takeout.
Ooh, there was a TV show, iZombie. I really enjoyed it. I would rewatch that entire TV series all over again. It was fantastic.
I
It
have
was
never actually seen that.
intelligent zombies.
I've heard very good things about it, but I've never seen it.
It's good. It's fantastic.
There is another movie. What was the name of it? It was a zombie movie that like completely reversed like all the tropes of zombie movies. Um, Warm Bodies. It was
Warm
like
Bodies was good.
this
Yeah.
zombie apocalypse kind of thing, and then like the zombies were like slow, dumb, whatever, like all the tropes. And then I think like one of them like fell in love with like the last living girl or something, or like one of the last living humans, and then like slowly regained his humanity, and at the end was not a zombie anymore. Somehow,
Yeah.
power of love.
I
It's
know.
a rom-com zombie movie.
Yeah, it's 100% rom-com, but with zombie aspect. It's not like full on horror. But it does have horror aspects in it. And that's where a lot of people hate on it because it's very rom-com. And I'm like, honestly, for people like me, I will watch a zombie like with my husband because he loves zombie, anything zombie. He loves it, loves zombie stuff. And if he's like, "Hey, there's a new zombie movie," I'll watch it with him. I won't be happy. I won't enjoy it, but I will watch it. And he wanted to actually go see Warm Bodies because he knew that I would not sit there and be miserable the entire time watching it because it had rom-com in it. And it's a movie that him and we could actually sit down and watch it over and over again. Not as much as we would Shaun of the Dead, but it's something we both can enjoy. We'll put it that way. Because it had zombies and it also had rom-com, and I'm sorry, I could go for a good rom-com anytime. I like to laugh, and yeah, not so much the romance aspect unless they get busy, but the comedy part's good. I'm not a typical chicken. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, the romance, it's wonderful. Instead, I'm like, are they doing it yet?
One thing that most zombie movies, not all, but most zombie movies have in common, uh, lots and lots of blood and gore and dismemberment and all that good stuff. Which does bring us to our next subgenre of horror, which is the gore or splatter genre. Gore, also known as the splatter genre, is all about the portrayal of graphic violence. Blood, guts, and body trauma are classic elements in gore movies. Films in the gore category rely heavily on special effects to disfigure body parts. I would fucking hope so, rather
Nah.
than actually dismembering people. New filmmakers can experiment with effects and get creative with theatrical makeup. This genre is the most gratuitous of all horror films when it comes to violence and the dismemberment of characters. Classic examples of gore movies include Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead and Eli Roth's Cabin Fever.
Evil Dead, Evil Dead. Sorry.
I have never actually seen either of those. I have never seen any Evil Dead movies. I've never seen Cabin Fever. But I do believe the most famous gore, the most famous franchise in the gore subgenre, Saw, obviously.
Obviously.
I mean, it was the movie
Which are fantastic of themselves.
It was the movie that kicked off the entire what's it called? I mean, it's the gore subgenre. There's another name for it. I don't know. Whatever it's called.
Oh god. Yeah, I can't think of it either. Now that you say that.
Torture
Body
porn.
horror?
Torture porn, that's what it was.
Torture porn.
Which is not actually porn. It's, I don't know why it's called that, but it's basically like super, super heavy, gratuitous, visible like trauma to the body. I mean, the first Saw movie literally has a guy sawing off his own leg to escape a leg restraint.
Oh, Wesley. Sorry. As you wish. Sawing his leg off.
Oh my god. Wow. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay
Because it's
then.
so gratuitous and unrealistic. Yes and no. Gratuitous, yes. Unrealistic, depends.
So I heard about a movie that was made a long time ago called, I believe it was called Cannibal Holocaust, which I
Yeah.
think kind of fits into this category because of what I'm about to say. It's about, I think it was a group of like, was it explorers or missionaries? I don't remember that went into that like meet with this, kind of like this undiscovered tribe of people in the jungle somewhere. I've never actually seen it, so I don't know all the details. But
I've seen it, but it's been a really long time, and I want to say it was missionary.
I mean that sounds right.
But been it's been a minute.
Yeah. The reason this movie in particular stands out is because there was actually a lawsuit brought against it. It was I think it was a class action suit. I might be mistaken about that. But there was a lawsuit brought against it because the effects were so realistic. People thought that the director actually had people murdered in order to get to create this movie.
Yep.
And like the jury, for this case, the jury, the judge, no one was convinced that the director did not actually murder the people who starred in the movie until he brought in all of the people who starred in the movie as witnesses. And then the case was completely thrown out
Right.
because there's proof that they're still alive.
Yep.
I thought that was just
Jen said
so
it good on the
interesting.
FX team. Fuck yeah. That's when you know your FX team is on point.
Yep. So I've not actually watched the movie. I have seen a couple clips of the violence and trauma shown in the video. I was actually physically sick trying to watch it. And you know, I don't get that way for anything like that. It was so
I'd rather
realistic.
type that out than say it. I didn't say that.
uh,
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I didn't say that. But yeah, I remember we had talked about it, and I thought it was really interesting that even like it was a legit thing that the effects in it were just so on like, and that's where the part where the question was posed, like it's because it's gratuitous and unrealistic. Like with that one, it was actual legitimately realistic. um Most of the time, yes, with gore movies, it is unrealistic. You have the massive amounts of blood, like you're getting chainsawed and they're showing blood's going bananas everywhere, you know?
yeah, like if you get your arm cut off, you're not going to be painting the entire room with blood. Like it's gonna spray a little bit just because the arteries, but that's gonna die off pretty quickly as your body goes into
Right.
shock and seals off the blood vessels in that area naturally.
Yeah. Your plasma and all that stuff's going to instantly respond and be like an open wound. Time to stop this. Um but I think it's a lot of the Asian horror does the whole gratuitous splattering with the gore more often than with the American versions of gore. We still do it, but not to the same extent. And I don't know. It's not my favorite either. It kind of is in there with the slasher for me because when I think slasher, I also think lots and lots of gore.
Yeah,
Um
like someone gets their neck slashed, blood sprays.
yeah, it goes all over the place. So it's I don't know. And I think it's funny that they have in here with Evil Dead being a part of a gore movie because that one's the Evil Dead series itself is I could see the first one kind of being gore, kind of being slasher, kind of being paranormal. Like it's but it's also pretty fucking satire. Like it's not to be taken seriously.
So I think the reason they included Evil Dead in this particular subgenre is because later in the series, it gets campy. It gets very campy. It gets over the top with like dismemberments and stuff, and like how the are they zombies? Are they zombies or are they
Oh, it's
possessed
got a
or
mixture of everything.
okay?
You've got demons, you got zombies, you got spooky, scary skeletons coming for your spine or whatever. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's everything because it comes from the Book of the Dead, and that's why I said the first Evil Dead, the first one. I could see it being gore, but it's still pretty campy because. But then again, it was also done like in the '80s, and it wasn't meant to be campy then. It's campy now, hardcore campy. But it was like for the '80s, it's pretty typical '80s gore.
Right.
With a bit of a comedic twist. When Ashley Williams was introduced, then it just was like, just throw everything out the window. This is all camp satire comedy.
Yep. Take everything about the first couple movies that everyone loves, cut out everything else, jack everything else up to 13. Not 11. 11's too tame. Got to be 13.
Gotta be 13, especially with horror.
Yeah, but Jen in chat made a comment that I want to address because I thought the exact
Yes.
same thing. It's like Adam's Family when they do the school play between Wednesday and Pugsley. Yeah,
Yes.
there was a scene in the first Adam's Family movie where Wednesday and Pugsley were doing like a Shakespeare. I think it was a Shakespeare performance, but they were like sword
Yes.
fighting,
Yep.
and they had rigged up a system where they could like actually stab each other, fake stab each other, but knowing those two is probably somewhat real stabbing each other. Then they rigged up a system of like fake blood and like tubing and stuff where like one of them got their arm cut off, fake of course, and then blood just starts spraying
Wednesday.
all over the audience and just sprayed and sprayed and sprayed. It was like gallons and gallons and gallons of blood. I don't actually know where they kept all of that on their characters in the movie, but
It doesn't
that
matter. Don't bring
yeah,
logic into it.
shut up. But yeah, like that's what you think of when you think of gore or splatter is just gratuitous amounts of blood that cannot physically be possible in a human body.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, and it's so good because everybody's just like in shock and they're red.
And
And
the best part is they're just sitting there letting it happen. They're just staring.
yeah, they're just like, and then the parents just casually wipe their face and they're like, bravo!
Yep.
So good. That's a good movie too.
That's a very,
Oh man.
very, very good movie. One of my favorites. It's like top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of what some other gore movies would be. I mean, obviously there's the Saw franchise. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think movies like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street at this point could somewhat be classified as gore because of the way characters die, like the blood spray and dismemberment, especially in Friday the 13th, like the later ones. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I guess mid-series at this point because the later ones tried to be more serious to a degree.
Right.
But back in like the middle of the series when they were trying to be like they're trying to be super campy, there were a lot of different ways, like a lot of really funny comedic ways that characters died, and there was always so much blood spraying everywhere.
Everywhere. Yep. Oh crap. I don't know, because it's hard to separate a slasher from a gore.
It really
Especially
is.
the older the movies are, it's really hard to separate them. Now, as we get, further into it, I could see that because, like you said with the Saw, I mean, yes, you have the same villain, but he's not committing the dismemberment and the gore acts. It's because of how they're going through whatever trial or whatever they're going through, or the rigging or whatever. That's where the gore comes in, and it's not so much a slasher because he's not actually physically committing the murder. And I think that's, as you said, it was pretty groundbreaking when the first Saw came out, and that's kind of what set off the whole gore aspect itself because it was to be a separate thing. Because then you could have these movies where the killer is a killer, but he's not physically doing the killing or whatever. It's some sort of torture device or what have you.
I think another good example of gore or splatter is The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing, because there's so much body horror. There's not much blood. There's not like actual blood, but there's so much body horror and characters like being like torn apart or whatever. Personally, I feel it could fall into the gore category.
Mhm. And I do like that they brought up, Eli Roth's Cabin Fever because it's not really so much with zombies or anything else. Literally, it's just a sickness, and that would make sense because you're getting sick and it's a natural death ish. It's been a while since I've seen Cabin Fever, but I remember thinking like it was pretty gory, for getting sick. Yeah, cabin fever
Fear
equals
equals
COVID.
COVID.
Oh wow, okay, COVID on steroids. I mean, yeah, it's literally because you get sick, but it was also all recorded and anyway. I won't give spoilers away, but it's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, it was another good thing for them to bring up for gore because it was gory without no actual killer. Like there wasn't someone that was causing physical dismemberment and stuff, even
Yep.
though they do classify dismemberment being on there. Um, but my brain just goes, "Oh, you're getting hacked to pieces." That's kind of slasher.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So
And I think that's another thing, kind of like zombie and paranormal, is gore could also be in like every other genre
yeah,
to a
to an
point.
extent, for most of them, yeah.
Rift, you did not miss the Final Destination part of the discussion. We have not touched on Final Destination yet.
I don't know if I would Final Destination.
I
That's kind of got a
honestly,
mix.
I would personally, I wouldn't consider that gore because it's yes, some of the characters die in pretty horrific, pretty bloody ways, but the blood is not the main focus. The
No.
dismemberment, like the crush to death or whatever, nail gun goes through a guy's head in one of them, well, several times in one of them. It it doesn't. Yes, the deaths are the focus of the movies. The method of the death is the focus of the movies, not the actual effect of the death. If that makes sense. I I'm trying to make a point, but I'm a streamer. I can't words.
Right.
Personally, I feel Final Destination would be more under probably just like general paranormal or supernatural. Because there's no monster, there's no slasher, there's no zombies in it. It's the it's not even an embodiment of death. It's just death itself trying to take these people out. And you never even really see death. It just kind of happens, you know?
Yeah, but it was all because they had escaped death in a
Yeah.
way. And so death is like, no, 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 no. Uh-uh. That's where I'm trying to think, like, in a way that's kind of more not really demonic, but paranormal because it's
Yeah,
death is coming after them, and it's an unseen, because that's how they classified paranormal is it's an unseen thing, and that's kind of how that is for my viewpoint for Final Destination.
I completely agree. It is definitely not gore. In my opinion, it's definitely not gore. It is strictly falls under the paranormal umbrella.
Yeah,
And in
I
fact,
would see it more.
it's one of the few movies that has paranormal not mixed with something else.
Yeah, there's no other paranormal elements to it. Yeah.
So I can't think of a clever segue to get into this next one because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
going from gore to witchcraft. How am I going
Yeah.
to segue to that?
I
Well,
don't know.
actually, just like that. That's how I'm going to do it. Our next subgenre is witchcraft. Witches have a long history of mischief and folklore. They use the power of magic to cast spells on their victims, turning them into all kinds of tortured beings. Similar to the paranormal genre, witchcraft uses supernatural elements to create fear. Movies like The Witch and Suspiria are great examples of the terror caused by witches. Along with those movies, I would also classify the last Conjuring film, The Devil Made Me Do It, as a witch movie. Because, spoiler alert, by the way, for anyone who has not seen it, it is literally a witch causing everything that goes wrong in that movie because she's trying to make a deal with the devil.
I'll still fight you on that, only because it deals with demons. But I could see, I mean, it's again, it's kind of hand in hand. Witches, demons, they dance around the campfire late at night naked, so they're hand in hand.
You know what was a really, really good witch movie that I thoroughly enjoyed? The Craft.
The Craft, yes, and Jen just said The Craft too.
Yep.
She said The Craft, but like I wouldn't say it's complete horror, but horror, yes. But
Yeah.
technically, if you think about it, The Craft was listed as a horror film, um, even when it was first made. Um, but that's very much 100% a witch horror film. Um, and I would say that for anything for a witchcraft movie, I would watch it again. I actually, not too very long ago, watched The Craft Legacy. Not as good as The Craft. It was okay.
It had a
It
lot to
was,
live up to.
eh, it did. It really did. Let me think
Honestly,
of any other witch films.
yeah,
They're more
I'm struggling to think of
comedic.
yeah, I'm struggling to think of movies that are like strictly fall into the witchcraft category other than the ones already mentioned.
Yeah, it's hard to think of something that's witch that's not um something else that's not part of the demonic or paranormal.
Right. Well, again, paranormal covers like everything. Technically
Right.
it covers all of these.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Hocus
Hocus
Pocus.
Pocus?
That's actually a good suggestion.
Would you consider it horror though? It is a
I think
Disney movie.
I think it's similar to Nightmare Before Christmas in that it could be
True. True.
it's like a
Yeah.
borderline horror. It's definitely made for kids. Uh,
Yeah.
older kids.
Ooh, The Covenant. That was another good one.
Oh, The Covenant. Yeah. I forgot about that one. You know, I would have rewatched Hocus Pocus now. It's been years and years since I've seen it. Actually, wait. Am I thinking of the right Covenant movie? Yes, I am. This the ones with Rift. Are you thinking of the ones with I think the four kids call themselves the Sons of Ipswich or something? Or someone in the movie calls them that. But yeah, I just looked it up. The cover is definitely the one I'm thinking of. That was a good one too. That would definitely fall right under the umbrella of witchcraft. It's
Ronan Kleptos asks Blair Witch.
hmm, Blair Witch is a really tricky one because you don't ever actually see the witch. It's
Witchcraft
more
is involved, but it's more of a
it's
docu horror.
yeah, it's tangentially evolved.
Yeah. Anyways, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good. But yeah, going back to the Covenant, it is definitely firmly in the witchcraft category, but it kind of flips it on its head a little bit because all the main characters, all the characters with powers, are male. Every single one of them. And usually, when you see witch and witchcraft, it's usually a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Covenant is spoilers, by the way, for the Covenant. Um, it's a group of high school boys who are descended from like some kind of like mages or wizards or whatever, so they have power. Um, their power gets exponentially greater on their 18th birthday, or if someone else in their family gifts them that other person's power. And like they do all sorts of crazy things with the power in the movie, but every like there's one scene where the main character is driving his car. He looks off the road for a second, looks right back, and there's a truck coming right at him. Crashes right into the front of the truck. The entire car just like freaking explodes. Everything goes into slow motion, and you see the pieces of the car like put themselves back together on the other side of the truck. And the guy's fine. Shaken up completely, but he's fine. Definitely magic involved there. Very, very strictly witchcraft. Um, Again, it
I'm
kind of
trying to think of another one.
yeah, I can't really think of any other ones that fall really right underneath the witchcraft umbrella.
So I did kind of look at something and um Roald Dahl's The Witches. It the it's considered to be dark fantasy yet also be considered to be a witchcraft horror because it does involve witches and children and it's ooky spooky, but I mean, yeah, I guess I could, as a child, I could definitely see The Witches, whether it be the new version with Anne Hathaway or the old version from the 90s with Angelica Houston.
Wasn't it her that played Morticia Adams? The Adams
Yes.
Family movies? Okay.
Yes.
Just want to make sure
Mhm.
I got the person right.
Yes. Yes. The same woman that played Morticia Adams, she also did the main witch in The Witches. Um the old one creeps me out is what Jen says. Yes. They actually redid it with Anne Hathaway and they did a really, I'm not gonna say it was bad. They did a really good job redoing it, kind of giving a modern day twist on it. Um, but the old one, I'm sorry, if I was to have my son sit down and watch The Witches, he would have nightmares. It would be terrifying for him. So yeah, I would consider it as a horror, and it is full on witchcraft horror because, of course, you got witches.
Uh, Snowy Morticia Adams is a character in the Adams Family franchise.
Yep.
Who actually she herself is considered a witch. She's taken school for witchcraft, spells and hexes.
Angelica Houston, she was also a young childhood crush.
I think she's a lot of people's childhood
As
crush.
Morticia for Morticia Adams. Oh,
Yeah, Morticia Adams is a gold.
yes, Goth Mommy.
We really need a horror take on Harry Potter. I wouldn't be surprised if one actually already exists. And no, I am
Yeah.
not talking about My Immortal, the infamous, absolutely horrific fan fiction of Harry Potter, which
Oh, there's also
we will not be getting into that on the stream.
no. There's also the Witches of Eastwick
That's
with
another one, yeah.
Cher. I didn't even think of that, and I think it's because they're I don't really see them as horror because some of them are not super scary, when I think of horror, but as a mom, thinking about having my son sit down to watch them, I could see where they could be considered horror because they would scare little children, like, that's scary for kids.
Yep.
So it wouldn't make sense. But I remember watching The Witches of Eastwick as a child, and I'm like, oh, one day I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna be like you, Cher. I'm gonna be a witch too. I mean, it didn't scare me. Instead, I was like, heck yeah. Same with the Craft, Hocus Pocus. Heck yeah. I was like, one day I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna be a witch. Everybody's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a fighter. And I'm like, I want to be a witch. I'm gonna do this and change my hair color. I'm gonna ride a fucking vacuum. Because everybody's got brooms. Michelle
All right.
Pfeiffer, yeah.
Right. From one classic horror, I don't want to say monster, like horror character thing to another. The next one on our list is vampires. This is a fun one.
Yes.
Go ahead and read that one out.
Ooh, this is my one of my loves. So we got vampires. English literature popularized vampire stories, which were basically just ghost stories of the dead returning to haunt the living. It wasn't until the slow burn success of Dracula that helped launch vampire stories into the mainstream. There have been countless low budget Dracula movies throughout the years, including Horror of Dracula, The Brides of Dracula, Dracula's Dog. One of the more successful vampire movies, besides the Twilight series.
They are not vampires, by the way. Vampires
Why
do
did I
not
just read that?
glow
Ooh, that hurt me.
sunlight.
That hurt me to read that. Why would you sit here and one of the more successful vampire movies, and it's going to compare Neil Jordan's adaptation of the 76 novel Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice next to Twilight? Why would you do this? Don't do that. A young Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt play vampires. The film focuses on Lestat, who was played by Tom Cruise, and Louis, not to be confused as with Lewis, because it's set in New Orleans. So he's Louis. He's Louis, who was played by Brad Pitt. Beginning with Louis' transformation into being a vampire by Lestat in 1791.
Nope,
And
fun.
yes, I have to agree, Snowy Twilight is not horror. It's not horror. That's
Nope.
teen romance
Yep.
with vampires. Chew.
You know, fun fact, I have never actually seen Interview with a Vampire.
We got to.
Yeah,
It's
we
good.
definitely do. It's been on my list for years. I just never got around to watching it.
It's good. It's fantastic. Book is better, but the movie was good.
That's how it usually goes.
Yeah.
Yes, Jen, I know you can stop having a heart attack now.
Yes, calm down, Jen. It's fine. We'll get there.
Um, I think my personal favorite vampire movie, Queen of the Damned.
Which is also part of the vampire Anne Rice vampire trilogy.
It is
I
because
just
it
read what
stars
Riff
Lestat.
said.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
stop judging the Fae disguising themselves as vampires.
and it
Let's do that.
actually kind of makes sense, and that is my new headcanon. The Twilight
Yes.
vampires are not vampires, but they are fae disguising themselves.
They're forest Fae.
Yeah, they just
I
want
would
to
have to
see
bring
what
the Fae
people are
down to
like.
protect the vampires. Oof.
But,
Jen, yes,
yeah,
we're gonna drool over Brad Pitt. Mm-hmm.
but yeah. Speaking of drooling, let's go back to Queen of the Damned because Stuart Townsend as Lestat
It
and
was good.
what's her name, Aaliyah, I
Aaliyah.
think,
Aaliyah.
gorgeous.
It was good. The book is a wee bit different. Uh and by a wee I mean there's quite a bit of differences. Um but I think that the movie didn't do too bad of a job. Still getting the message across. Um I just a part of me kind of feels like if they wanted to do but then again, this was all before like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, where they literally went from book to book to book and everything else. That I really I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't do that, because you've got Interview with a Vampire, you've got then it goes Interview with a Vampire, The Vampire Lestat, I think, and then The Body Thief, Memnoch the Devil, and then Queen of the Damned. There's quite a few of them, and
So it sounds like it.
they're all fantastic. Body Thief was kind of meh. Um, and she actually, within the past 10 years, came out with a new one called The Prince Lestat, and I still haven't read it. I own it. It's right there. I haven't read it yet, and I need to. Shame on me. Bad. Um, but it was the film Interview with a Vampire was really really good. Um, it is almost one of those movies that follow along the book really really well.
Okay, that's
So
good to know.
the Fae are cool, Lil slash big creatures. They are cool.
They are,
He
yeah.
was good as Lestat, but I feel like Tom Cruise fills those shoes better. Tom Cruise did play Lestat.
I think she's comparing Tom Cruise to Stuart Townsend
Oh, okay,
because they both played the stat in two different movies.
gotcha.
I need to look up
Um,
what his actual name is because I really want to get it right.
okay, yes, yeah, he did play Lestat. That's
Oh,
right.
it is. It is Stuart Townsend. Townsend. I was right.
I'm trying to think now if Queen of the Damned was like one of those like thinking of the past, or if it was something that was no, because it was present, because there was concerts and all that shit. Oh god, it's been a long time. I'm gonna have to reread and rewatch.
Yeah, I remember. It's been a while since I've seen Queen of the Damned. I've never actually read the book, but I do know it starts off in like the 1700s, whatever, because we see Lestat get turned into a vampire. Then he hibernates, as vampires are tending to do, and then he wakes up in the modern
Hmm.
day, and that's when the rest of the movie takes place. It is a modern day movie. Well, I say
Right.
modern day, like 20 years ago.
Yeah, because after the shit happens with Louis, it causes him to, and the whole debacle of what happens in the books. I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, it causes him to have to hibernate, and he basically kind of hibernates almost through the whole book series, um, which is kind of a downer. But you follow along Louis and his trail, and then you kind of just you explore the whole thing. Um, but it was good. It was actually pretty good. Are we going to be getting into Fey horror at some point? No,
Yeah,
but
probably not because
I would.
that's.
Where would you put that? Fey horror. Would you put that as
I
supernatural,
would put that as I would
paranormal?
put that as supernatural slash paranormal.
Yeah, same.
Um, let's talk about a genre of horror that has absolutely nothing to do with monsters or serial killers, or a little bit to do with stuff like that, but just different in general to other genres of horror. Let's talk about psychological horror. It's not about what we see on the screen, but how it makes us feel. The genre plays tricks on the viewer's minds by creating paranoia. A viewer's emotional state is heavily influenced by psychological horror. Since this type of horror can feel a little too real compared to the other genres, gore and monsters, it specifies, people may walk away feeling uneasy, which is the entire point. Main
Yep.
characters in these types of horror movies are mentally unstable or emotionally disturbed to the point of being violent. One of the best examples of psychological horror genre is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, starring Jack Nicholson. From the beginning of the movie, you can see Jack Torrance slowly turn more mad with each developing scene. That is a perfect example of psychological horror because the
Yes.
entire movie, like, there's no monster, there's no slasher. There's
The monster
nothing
is here.
there's nothing in the dark waiting for you. It's all up here. I mean,
Yep.
yes, there is the influence of the hotel, which itself is an entity, but you only really see it in the effects that it has on Jack's psyche.
Yes.
And
Um, and even when they go into Doctor Sleep, it's still a mental thing. It's still the hotel is not so much the main enemy. It's what it does to your brain. Like what it does to it drives you legitimately crazy. Something to do with it drives you crazy. And I just those are fantastic to me because it really gets you thinking. Like it makes you think like, "Oh god, that's people really are some get so mentally unstable that they have these issues and they will do murderous rampages and it's terrifying."
it absolutely is. And one thing I want to point out specifically about The Shining is that it does psychological so well. Because there are scenes in the movie
Yes.
where you're looking at a character, like one specific scene I'm thinking of. You're looking at what was the kid's name?
Danny.
Danny. That's it. You're looking at Danny sitting there playing with his toy cars on a carpet. You're looking at him head on, and then the camera cuts to a rear view of him. And so you see him from behind. The carpet doesn't change in the way that you think it would. The pattern is like off. It's not reversed like you would think it would be. And to this day, people debate on whether Stanley Kubrick did that intentionally to mess with the viewer's minds and give it like the more unsettling feel. Is like, okay, this is what the hotel can do. It can like subtly alter perception, or if it was just a mistake. Because knowing Kubrick as such a perfectionist as he was in everything he did, it's very unlikely for him to make that kind of mistake.
Right. Like he even went through the hassle, so to speak, the hassle of starting to film a scene and basically telling Jack Nicholson to start coming after the actress that portrayed his wife and basically start swinging at her. And she was unaware of it because it was like a last minute thing. He's like, I want you to swing at her. And then she backs up. And in the film, you see her like retreating from him and almost falling down the stairs, screaming. And that's because that is her legit reaction because she didn't know that that was about to happen. And I think that's things like that. And then with the axe coming through the door, she was waiting for Q and he axed the door. And her scream and terror, that's legit.
Genuine terror.
And that's what makes it so chef's kiss. Yeah, Shelley Duvall. Yeah,
Yeah.
poor Shelley Duvall. Because he put her through so much rigorous torture with this film.
Didn't she
But
actually quit acting after that because like she just couldn't do it anymore because of the trauma that Kubrick put
I
her through?
know she refused to work with the same actors and with Stanley Kubrick in general. Like I don't know if that was what caused her to like end her career, but I know for a fact that she was like, I'm done for right now. Like she had to stop for a long time before she was to even think about doing anything else because he had fucked with her so bad that she's like, I'm out. I'm I need to just go be a normal person for a little bit.
And there's the true effect of psychological horror. That kind of reaction is what The Shining in particular does so well, but also some other movies. They give the viewers like that same sense. Like that same sense of trauma and paranoia. And it's like you don't know what's gonna happen next. And I think that's what makes psychological so unsettling. is it's not like jump scares, it's not like effects on screen. It's a mind fuck. It's
Yeah.
messing with your mind. It's messing with your perception. It's messing with your emotional state.
Oh yeah. Um, I know we haven't seen them, but I know it was suggested to us. Um, Midsommar and Hereditary are considered to be psychological horrors as well.
I could
Um,
definitely, from what I know about those movies, I could definitely see that.
and I know we haven't seen them personally yet, and it's on our uh to do list of movies to see. So I'm pretty interested in kind of going down that road. Because psychological horror, like it's up there with, being S tier for me for gotta watch. Um
Would Frailty fall into this category?
Ooh, Frailty.
That's a good question. Uh,
Hmm.
Personally, I would say no because it's not. Frailty isn't trying to mess with you, the viewer. It's messing with. It's like about messing with the characters and like distorting like what you know of the characters. Also, Fandros Draconis, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. It is very much appreciated.
Hi, Fandros.
Yeah,
That's one of my homies.
I know. I've seen them in your streams.
Yep.
Yeah. For Ronan's
And
question
there's
about
his wife,
frailty,
Cedar.
Fae of the Forest. Also, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. It is much appreciated. Hope you're enjoying the show. Yeah, frailty. I don't personally think that would fall under psychological. I don't. I don't know what that would fall under actually.
Yeah, that one's difficult. Because I'm trying to think, like, does it have mindfuck in it? Yeah, it does. But it's not so
It's
much
it's
it's
not
not
so
as
much mind.
strong for
Yeah,
your
it's not so
perspective.
much mind fucking. It's more. It's a twist. It's
Yeah,
a twist ending.
yeah. I mean, same. Like I'm kind of looking at a small list here that you pull up it on the Le Googles. Um, but it has, and I'm gonna bring this up, and Mika knows why. But Split, it's brought up as being a psychological horror. Um, and this one actually makes me upset. As being a horror film, I could see, yes, it could be scary, but as being a psychological horror, it is in a sense because it plays off of what happens in certain people's certain psyche, but I don't like it because it's not true. It's not accurate. It doesn't portray an accurate description of that psychological illness. It gives a false pretense of what that is, and that's what bothers me about it. And I could see where you could take that psychological illness of that individual and turn it into a horror and make it something twisted. That's fine, but the people that are affected by it, I could see where it could offend them. And I'm talking about Split. But isn't that part of like Dr. Glass and all that, the Unbreakable series?
Mhm.
That's supposed to be based on comic books? Like that kind of
Yeah,
also.
it was really weird because I think it's like there's I think with 3 movies in that series so far.
It's Unbreakable, Mr. Glass, and there's
It's,
Split,
it's
and I think there might even be one more.
okay.
I don't remember.
Yeah, like I wanted to
I
say
know
I did.
I've seen Unbreakable,
Okay.
Mr. Glass, and Split. Those are the ones I have seen.
I at first I wanted to say Unbreakable or not Unbreakable Identity, but I know that's not. I'm thinking of a completely different. What was I going to say? I completely forgot what I was gonna say.
Dropped it. It's gone.
It's gone.
Oh, so it's just those 3. Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
Seer.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
saying that, yes, it's just Unbreakable Split and
Okay.
Glass.
I remember what I was gonna say. I remember the first one in that. I don't know which one of those was first, but I remember the first one was people thought it was a standalone movie. Then when the second one came out, people thought it was a standalone movie. They didn't realize they were connected until like the same actor played the same character in both movies. And then it got people thinking, it's like, could they be connected? And then the last one came out and it was like, yeah, everything's fucking connected.
Mhm. Unbreakable has Bruce Willis, um, and Samuel L. Jackson plays as Mr. Glass. And that's who Glass is about. So the order I named them is the order they came out, which was
I
Unbreakable,
yeah,
Split, and Glass. Yep.
I kind of figured that, but again, I don't know. I've never seen them. They're not really
And
that kind of movie.
McAvoy is who
McAvoy.
plays in Split. Um,
So
but that one,
those,
it's that one's like I could see where they're putting it as a psychological horror, but it's because it does involve the psyche, but I wouldn't classify it in the same sense as The Shining because it
it doesn't
I don't
fuck
know.
with you as a viewer.
Exactly. Yes. That's when I'm thinking of a psychological horror. I'm thinking where it's going to leave me walking out of there thinking, "Oh my god." You
Yeah,
know,
those.
like Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
I could see that being a part of a mixture between, demon and um
psychological.
psychological because back in that day I told you that if I was watching this back in that day, man, I'd be like, I don't know who to talk. Should I talk to my neighbors? Are they involved with Satan? Like, it would really mess with you.
Skits, welcome in. We kind of talking about The Shining. We're talking about psychological horror, and The Shining was brought up as the main example of psychological horror because it does it so well. Uh,
Yes.
there was a question asked earlier in chat: does Frailty count as psychological horror? And then someone brought up Split, Unbreakable Glass. Personally, I don't feel that those, along with Frailty, I don't think they're psychological horror because, like as we said, they don't mess with you, the viewer.
Hmm.
I think of them more as just thriller.
Yeah. And I don't know where they would get so much of the horror because
They're not really
nothing
horror
about it
movies.
really incited any sort of major fear, especially for me. Um, Now, another one that I see as a suggestion on here um, is Sixth Sense, and
I can kind of see it. It's
I
not.
could
It's not a.
kind of
It's
see
not.
it.
It's not a horror. First of all, I don't classify that as a horror. It's missing a lot of the classic horror elements, but
Right,
I can
exactly.
see it being a psychological. I still
Yes,
feel. I think.
psychological, yes, but horror,
Yeah. I think Sixth Sense is like on the border between psychological and twisty thriller.
yeah, it's just I don't know. It, I feel like a heart words. I will get there. Psychological horror. It's excellent. It is an excellent form of horror, but it's hard because it kind of plays well with other genres or other subgenres of horror rather because it's always about that twist and a way to make you think and how you feel and it kind of tugs at you a little bit mentally. And I mean, not so much with like the monster but like the slasher and the gore and all that, like Saw. I could see Saw being a psychological horror as well.
I could see Saw being
Be-
classified as psychological to a degree. Yeah.
Yeah. And as Jen says, psych horror is just more like a thriller. And I have to agree, like they seem more of a thriller versus a horror than anything
Yeah.
because there's not that typical when you think horror, you think somewhere in it's got a lot of blood.
Yeah, when you think horror, you think vampires, you think werewolves, you think
Jason,
you think Jason, you
Freddy,
think slashers, you think
Godzilla.
like
Yeah.
witches, you think like monsters and stuff like that. You don't tend to think of, okay, this detective doesn't know he's a ghost and he goes solving cases still. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Sixth Sense yet, by the way.
What?
Shut up.
Did you just tell me that Dumbledore was dead?
Oh my god. Spoiler alert, everyone. Well, that
Vader is
is.
Luke's father? Sorry.
Right, well, that
Continue.
is just about time. It's just about time for us to wrap up. We only have a couple minutes left. There is one more subgenre that we did not touch on this time. That is comedic horror slash parody slash satire. We will go very deep into detail on that during our next show, because for our next show, we are going to be doing a watch party, which, what do you think? Friday before? I need to see what I'm actually doing that Friday. I might not
I
be
was
able
about to
to.
say, I may need to check your calendar on that one.
Yeah, so we will check our calendars, make sure.
I started a big to do in the chat here.
Oh,
We
yeah, you did. But
so
yeah,
late to the party.
for our
What?
next.
Dumbledore dies?
Yes,
Dumbledore is actually Voldemort.
Voldemort is Vader's father.
Voldemort is Vader's father.
But yes, for our
And he
next
went
show,
to the Shire.
into the Shire. So for our next show, we will be hosting a watch party in my Discord server, !Discord to get the link to it. We'll figure out when exactly that's going to be, and then post the link, and then post the time in chat, or not in chat, in the server under announcements. But we will be watching a comedic horror movie called Willy's Wonderland, which Jan and I both found a couple months ago. We watched it together. It is
Good.
honestly one of the best movies I have ever seen. It is
If you like
so
horror
good.
and you like Nicolas Cage.
So
And real
the
quick, before we wrap up, Cedar has said she's late to the party, but are we saying that horror has to include a supernatural element? No, not always supernatural. Um, it it's more people perceive when they hear the word horror, they think supernatural monsters, gore, blood, guts, that stuff.
Skits, you will love Willy's Wonderland. The best way I can describe it is Five Nights at Freddy's starring Nick Cage.
Yes.
Except Nick Cage is actually the best actor in the entire movie.
Yes.
And
he says
yeah,
nothing.
yeah. And when I say that Nick Cage is the best actor in the movie, I mean it's actually really fucking good acting. Like, I was genuinely surprised at how good his characterization of his character was. But
it's
it is a top 10 movie.
it is
Faye,
another
Faye, it's not scary. Like, there's no
no
jump scares. Well, there's like
it's
a couple minor jump scares here and there, but it's not scary.
it's another Sabcock movie.
It's a Sabcock movie.
Yes,
That's a good way
like
to describe it.
Velocipaster, Willy's Wonderland. They're here together.
Yeah.
They're instead of romance, they're horror of Sabcock.
But yeah, that is going to be it for the show this week. Our next show will be in 2 weeks, which is going to be, I believe, the 20th? June 20th, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Like I said, we will be hosting a watch party for Willy's Wonderland in my server, and then we will be doing a deep dive into not only Willy's Wonderland, but also the comedic subgenre of horror in general.
Because there is a lot.
Because there is a lot.
And that is our absolute favorite.
Yep. So, as I said in the beginning of the stream, my name is ShinyMikablu. This,
and I am VineyardTrio.
Yep. And
I'm getting choked up. Fandros got me. No, we're not going to watch porn for Sabcock, no.
I mean, we could, but that's an entirely different stream.
Yeah.
All right.
That's late at night. Late at night.
That's late at night. All right. That is the show. We will see you all next time. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for joining us for this discussion. And yeah, June 20th, 8 p.m. That will be our next show. Good night, everyone.
We'll keep everybody updated as well on watch party,
Yes,
when and where.
absolutely.
Well, we already know the where, but
Yeah. Once we
the
figure
when
out,
and what you should wear. Wink.
yeah, once we figure out what time and what day we're gonna do it, there will be a pinged announcement, a pinged and pinned announcement in my server. So yeah,
Yes.
exclamation
And
mark.
I will also make sure to post it into my personal Discord. This way, those that don't get a chance know where we'll be
The
as well.
better how watch party. God damn it, Fandros.
How watch party? I don't know.
That's that's Drax reference. Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone. Hope you have a great night, and we will
Good
see
night.
you next time.
Good night, you sexual beings.